Saturday at the Harbor Ridge Galleria felt like a commercial warm light. Slow jazz, the smell of cinnamon pretzels drifting across polished floors. I was off duty for the first time in a week, hair tucked under a knit cap, soft blue sweater jeans. My niece had been hinting hard for a silver charm bracelet, butterflies Aunt Row not hearts. So I ducked into a boutique with glass cases that looked like they were guarding state secrets. "Can I help you?" the clerk asked tight. "Smile, tighter shoulders, name tag," said Paige. I said I was just browsing. She didn't move. I leaned over the case. There it was, a thin silver chain with tiny wings that caught the light like a secret. I pointed. "Could I see that when keys rattled?" A clink. She set it on the velvet and watched my hands like they were loaded. Behind me, I caught the reflection in the glass, two mall security guys who hadn't learned how to pretend. One tall chest puffed out, Holt. One younger, nervous, Rivera. They stood just outside the door, like the entrance belonged to them. "Just so you know," Paige said, "these are all locked cases." I noticed. I said, "Thank you." And then, sharp as a snapped thread, "I need to look inside your bag." The room stopped. Even the music sounded like it hit a wall. "Excuse me?" I asked. She pointed to the open case. "That tray had a piece on it a minute ago. You put something in your bag." I touched the bracelet you handed me, I said, voice level. "That's it. Either you open the bag," she said, already glancing toward the door, "or I call security." "You already did." Holt and Rivera stepped in all swagger and policy. Holt squared up like he'd practiced it in the mirror. "Ma'am, empty your bag on the counter." "No," I said, "that's not how this works. You don't have probable cause." "She matches the description," Paige cut in. "Of what?" I asked. "A black woman." Shopping phones came up slow at first, then 3, then 10. People whispering like the scene was writing itself, difficult, non-compliant, dangerous. Holt moved closer till his breath fogged the glass. "Last chance. Check the cameras," I said. "They'll show exactly nothing." "The cameras are for internal use," Paige snapped. "Convenient," I said. That's when Sergeant Trent Maddox walked in like he owned the mall. He had a reputation, and Lake Haven complaints followed him around like a pack of stray dogs that never went hungry. He didn't ask questions. He didn't even look at the bracelet. He grabbed my shoulder, slammed me into the glass, and the room gasped like it shared one lung. "Hands behind your back," he barked. "That's excessive," I said, trying not to breathe. "Sharp glass digs in deeper when you breathe sharp." "You resisting," he said. "I'm asserting my rights." The cuffs were tight on purpose. He liked the sound they made on bone. He spun me toward the door, parade style. It was supposed to be humiliating. That's the move, make a spectacle big enough, and nobody remembers what started it. Halfway to the exit, I stopped walking. He shoved me. "Keep moving." "No." He leaned in, eyes empty of curiosity. "Say that again?" "Gladly." I turned my head to the phones. "You just cuffed a police captain. My badge is in my left coat pocket. Had you asked for identification, we wouldn't be doing this dance." Silence, Mom, a good heavy kind. Even Holt shifted his weight like he suddenly remembered he had feet. "Fake," Maddox said, but his voice cracked on the way out. He reached in, pulled the badge, and when that gold caught the mall lights, the sound of the room changed. I've heard it before, the moment authority realizes it's not the biggest thing in the room anymore. "You don't get to," he started. "I outrank you," I said quietly. "And every second you keep those cuffs on you, and I are building a case together." That video went up before they even walked me out. By sundown, my wrists were free, but the bruise in my chest, the one that says you belong here, until someone decides you don't, stayed. At home, my badge didn't go back on my chest. It sat on my desk like a witness. My friend Naomi showed up, public defender, with a spine of braided steel and a laptop that never slept. "I pulled some logs," she said, breathless. "You won't like them. 47 arrests tied to Harbor Ridge. The last 18 months, petty stuff, refused to comply, suspicious behavior. The kind of catch-alls that turn life into a fee schedule. The patterns were too neat. The same names popped up: Maddox, his unit, and a supervisor who liked to sign forms with a pen that barely wrote. "Tell me we were wrong," Naomi said. I wanted to. I couldn't. Complaints against Maddox were stamped unfounded like a rubber tattoo. An anonymous memo about selective enforcement at the mall was buried inside a file marked "closed." That night, the department put me on administrative leave process, they called it. The next night, someone visited my house. No TV gone, no jewelry, just my drives missing. On the kitchen counter, a manila folder with a picture of my 9-year-old niece on her bike. One word on top in block letters, traitor. The officer who took my report said all the right things while his eyes said this will never be followed up. I moved my niece that night. My sister didn't ask where. We've learned not to ask where. Then the journalist Lila Cruz, the one working on a piece about the mall pipeline, got jumped outside her building camera. Stolen ribs cracked the street camera offline for maintenance. When she texted me from the hospital, all she wrote was keep going. I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling till 3, then at the inside of my car windshield till 5. Dawn makes even bad ideas look reasonable, so I was back at the mall the next morning, not to shop, but to watch. I saw Holt shadowing a teen skinny kid with a backpack and a heartbeat too loud for a quiet hallway. I stepped between them. He done anything. Holt looked at me, then at the kid. No, Captain Ellis. Then leave him be. The kid nodded like it cost him something to do it. Maybe it did. That afternoon, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't know. I have something, a girl's voice said, shy but steady. From the mall. I cracked my motel door. Yeah, I'd switched locations and there she was. Purple braids, hoodie, 2 big hands shaking just enough to make me want to hug her. I'm Zuri, she said. I filmed the whole thing, not the part you saw online, the part before. He said your name. He waited for you to walk in. I plugged the flash drive into my laptop like it was a detonator. Grainy footage, but clear enough. Maddox standing with the mall's head of security eyes on the entrance, voice unmistakable. She's here. Let her walk in first. I sat back and just let my heart do whatever my heart needed to do. Pound burns settle into something colder. Lila, bruised but unstoppable, sent me the spreadsheet from her hospital bed. Money flowed like a river that pretended it didn't know where it was going. Northgate Partners, to a monitoring services vendor, to a shell called WMK, consulting, then into 3 familiar pockets. Sergeant Trent Maddox, Judge Clarence Dwyer, and Martin Kell, the CEO, whose name sat on half the city's redevelopment projects. The emails were the ugliest part, expedited. Sentencing invoice, Q3 arrest targets, like human lives, were line items in a quarterly deck. I packaged everything, the footage, the wires, the dockets, and sent it to Naomi, to 3 national reporters, and to the state DOJ tip line. Then I asked to speak at the city oversight hearing. The clerk tried to shuffle me to the end of the agenda. I said I'd bring half the city if they did. They gave me 10 minutes. The chamber was packed, cameras, quiet fury, protest signs outside like a second ceiling. Council chair Evelyn Price sat stone-faced. The mayor suddenly remembered how to sweat. Maddox took a front row seat, arms folded, badge hanging like a bad joke. I kept my notes in my pocket and spoke from the place that still ached. What happened at Harbor Ridge wasn't a misunderstanding, I said. It was a trap, not just for me, for a lot of folks who don't wear a badge and never got the benefit of the doubt. I hit the remote. On the screen, Maddox's face time-stamped the moment he said, "She's here. Let her walk in first." Gasps stick to old wood. Did you know that I do now? Next slide, the money. Lines from Northgate to the vendor, to the shell, to 3 names projected 6 feet tall like God had receipts. Maddox shot up. This proves nothing, he barked. You cherry-picked junk. You sold justice like a used car, I said, voice even. And the judge set the price. He went for his waistband, maybe to grandstand, maybe worse. He didn't get far. Sergeant Dana Wu and Officer Caleb Ortiz were on him before his hand cleared his jacket. The gun clattered. The room moved like a storm, then stopped on a dime when the state attorney general walked in with troopers. We're suspending all operations connected to Northgate Partners, effective immediately, she announced. This council is under investigation. No one leaves. Ever watched a city get quiet? It's louder than sirens. Within 48 hours, Martin Kell was perp-walked out of a lakeside mansion in silk pajamas, and Judge Dwyer resigned by sunset with a statement that sounded like a man apologizing to a mirror. 37 convictions were vacated in a week. The list of names was longer than the room felt. The mayor tried the apology tour. I stood behind him and let the cameras catch my face doing nothing. A reporter asked if I felt vindicated. This isn't vindication, I said. It's a start. They offered me my badge back with a little ceremony I didn't attend. I signed the papers in a quiet office, slid the badge into a drawer, and walked out without it. I opened a storefront a week later. 3 desks, a coffee machine that lies about being clean, a hand-painted sign, Freeman Legal Aid. The kind of place people walk into with 2 things a story and the hope someone will believe it. Lila kept writing and the series caught fire. Zuri started speaking at school board meetings, asking grown men with uniforms why a 16-year-old could spot injustice before they did. My niece Ava read a speech in her 4th-grade auditorium. The day my aunt said no was the day I learned I could say no too, and I had to stare at the scuffed gym floor for a full minute just to keep my face from doing everything at once. Years from now, folks will argue about what fixed-it policy or pressured data or outrage. I don't know. I just know the first time I walked into that mall as a kid in my school blazer, a guard followed me all the way to the food court, and I pretended not to notice because I wanted my fries. Some days I think I've spent my whole life pretending not to notice. I'm done pretending. And before you ask, no, it didn't end clean. New hands hold old levers. Some suits reinvent themselves faster than you can read a headline. A week ago, a councilman floated a community enforcement initiative that sounded suspiciously like the same machine with a fresh coat of paint. I sat in the back row, listened, and took notes. I know the drill. So let me ask you, if someone with a badge in her pocket can get walked out in cuffs for shopping, what happens to the folks who don't have a PCA or a lawyer friend or a girl brave enough to hold her phone steady? Drop your story in the comments. What have you seen? What did you believe back then that you don't buy now? Who gets the benefit of the doubt where you live and who never does? If you think order should never be an excuse for injustice, say so. Share this, argue, push back. Because justice isn't a destination, it's a muscle, and it only gets stronger when we work it.